Hello and welcome. Today I'd like to show you my new System76 Lemur Pro laptop. It's the new lemp10 model with the 11th generation Intel processor. There aren't a lot of System76 computer reviews on YouTube, so I hope you'll excuse my amateur attempt to do a review today. For the past 8 years, my daily driver has been this 15-inch MacBook Pro. And as you might imagine, 8 years of wear and tear has added up. The keyboard could really use some keys replaced. Kind of had a little bit of a chemical spill while replacing the battery that must have warped some keys. And as of late, I have this gray band going down the center of the screen that kind of varies with the angle of the screen. So I started looking for a replacement. And for me, Windows 10 is not an option. And I'm not a big fan of the current MacBook models with their highly integrated hardware and the touch bar. I'd rather not have to pay for that. I want buttons. So I started looking for computers that would be compatible with Linux hardware, like Lenovo. But the more I thought about it, I thought, I really want a system that just, it works out of the box, and if something doesn't work right, somebody actually cares and will help you get to the root of the problem. So I started focusing on Linux laptop manufacturers, and I really liked what System76 was doing. And I could tell that they were getting close to refreshing some laptops about a month ago, so I hung in tight and waited, and as soon as they came out with their new Lemur Pro, I went for it. I am used to a high-resolution 15-inch display, so it remains to be seen how much I'm going to miss the size and resolution. I don't need high resolution because I want a really big desktop with tiny icons. I want a laptop desktop that's about the size of a 1080p screen as far as the size of the icons and the text. But I want those extra pixels to give sharp, clear images. I've seen some people say that they can't tell the difference. 1080p is good enough. No, it's not. So, let's dig in. System76 does a great job packaging, and if you've looked at any other reviews, you've probably seen inside the box, so I will spare you those details. Oh yes, yes I did. Okay, we have the contents of the box. The 14-inch Lemur Pro weighing 2.4 pounds. We'll look at that again in a moment. The world's shortest power cord. Let's hope it's got a really good battery. No, thank you note. Thanks. A pen. Thanks. Microfiber cloth. Okay. Let's take a closer look. You and I are seeing this together for the first time. Protective sleeve. Protective foam. Oh, but wait. Don't turn it on. Take it apart. And here's the bottom of the system. It's a metal bottom with 4 rubber feet at the corners and a dozen screws holding it on. And you can see there in the middle a 32 gigabyte stick of memory, which is why, well, the major reason why we're opening up the case before turning it on. I found I could get a better value for the RAM, but I did upgrade the CPU. I would tell you what model that is, but if Intel wanted me to tell you, they would have picked sensible model names that a fella could remember. So, I don't know. Also, I got the 1 terabyte PCI Gen 4 solid-state drive. Let's take a closer look. Here on the inside, a 73 watt-hour battery, a Samsung 980 Pro. This is the PCIe Gen 4. Another M.2 slot. Our lonely DDR4 slot. CPU, cooling fan, Intel wireless card, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi 6, 2 speakers, And looks like all of your connectors are pretty much right along the bottom edge and the top edge, which would make servicing relatively easy. Now, one thing I've noticed, on the website, when you go to purchase this, it will tell you it's got two M.2 slots. One is PCIe Gen 4, the other is PCIe Gen 3 or SATA 3. Now, according to the service manual on their website, both of these slots are the same, PCIe Gen 3 or SATA 3. This is the primary slot, that is the secondary slot. However, this says SSD1 PCIe. This says SSD2 PCIe /SATA /Optane. So, three different pieces of information that are conflicting. Based upon the silkscreen markings, I would say this drive belongs in this slot. But we're going to leave it alone for now and run some speed test. And then we'll move it, and we'll find out which is which, and we'll let System76 know. Okay, there we go. One thing I'd like to point out before we close this up is that the screws for the case are structural, some of them. There is a hole here on this hinge, a hole on the other hinge, and a hole here and here. And your screws for the case cover go through those holes and help secure the case and the hinges for your screen. Okay, let's take a look at the ports. Starting on the left, you've got your power adapter, just a standard barrel plug, full-size HDMI. Now this says 3.1 Type A. The specs for the system say that it's got two Type A USB 3.2s, a Gen 1 and a Gen 2. Both this one and the opposite side are labeled the same, so I don't actually know for sure what we're getting yet. And then a Type C with DisplayPort and power. And here on the other side, on the left, we have the power button. I've never had a computer with a power button on the left, so I'm hoping I don't bump it. You Windows fellas, you need that power button all the time, but if I've got to touch my power button more than 4 or 5 times in a year, I'm pretty upset. So I hope I use it once or twice and it gets out of the way. A micro SD card reader, combined microphone and headphone jack. Here's our other mystery USB port. It might be 3.1, it might be 3.2, it might be Type 1 or 2, I don't know. At first I thought this was a guy with sunglasses, and that's his mouth. But then I realized, no, that's ventilation. And then I got thinking, no, weight reduction. This is a 2.4 pound laptop, and they pulled out all the stops. Here's the keyboard and trackpad. Keyboard is pretty sensible. I don't know why we have to have numpads squished into our keyboards. If that's really something you do a lot, I would imagine you could get a separate keyboard or a numpad keyboard. I don't like it. So the only thing I'm not real wild about are these page up and page down keys. I've got one laptop for work that's got them, and my MacBook doesn't have them. And I can get around okay. But if I had my druthers, I'd get rid of those. Now I change volume and brightness a lot with one finger. So this keyboard requires pressing the function key combined with another, function key. So function and function. F8, F9 for brightness. F5, F6 for sound, volume. So I'm going to be looking to see if I can't rebind some keys. And since this has a open source BIOS, well, the sky's the limit. And here's our 14-inch screen. I'm already starting to miss the 15-inch, but maybe this will be enough. I don't think the trim is too bad around the edge, the bezel. It might be plastic, I can't tell for sure. If so, it's the only plastic part I've seen. And camera at the top. So, now that we've paid homage to Dave at the EEV blog by taking it apart before turning it on, well, let's turn it on. And here's the BIOS. Pretty straightforward. For now, we're just going to boot. Well, I've been spending a little bit of time getting everything set up and tweaked to how I like it. I have used Pop! OS a little bit before, but certainly not as an everyday driver as I'm going to be trying to do with this laptop. I have used Ubuntu in the past, so I don't really expect any big surprises. So this is the benchmark of the drive, PCIe Gen 4. And we are averaging reads of around 3.1 gigabytes per second. I would expect to be above 4. So let's shut down. We'll move the drive to the other slot and see what happens. The drive is moved over to the other slot. Time to give it a test. And here are the results with the SSD moved to the other M.2 slot, about twice as fast. So I'd say that's pretty conclusive. This unit was shipped with the NVMe drive in the wrong M.2 position. I will make sure to let System76 know. I'm sure they'll be able to fix that real quick and it won't happen to anybody else, but it's worth checking. If you paid more for your extra drive, make sure you're getting that performance. Now, I couldn't tell you how this translates to real-world performance yet, and I really don't care to swap the drive back and forth to benchmark them. I'm sure someone else out there has done that work. That was my brief overview of the System76 Lemur Pro laptop. In the weeks ahead, I'll be spending a lot of time getting to know the hardware and the Pop! OS operating system. I'm particularly interested to see how the sleep states work, as that is something that the MacBook Pro does very well, and I have become accustomed to. The new 11th gen processor uses a different sleep state than the previous models, so I'm optimistic that there'll be some comparable performance in that area. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon.